Being a soldier, a sailor, an airman, or an airwoman in the profession of arms is to be part of honorable service to Canada. The profession of arms has and continues to be a fundamental part of our country, leading and shaping its very formation, protecting its interests, and projecting our values. Men and women of character have flocked to serve this profession and their Canada, at home, on the plains of South Africa during the Boer War, at Vimy Ridge in 1917, in Hong Kong, on the beaches of Normandy, in the skies of Great Britain and over Europe, and on and beneath the icy North Atlantic. They wrote new definitions for professionalism, courage, and valor there and during the brutal winters in Korea. Canadian men and women continue to serve with courage, with commitment, with integrity, and with loyalty in countries and regions that have become all too familiar to Canadians: Bosnia, Kosovo, Somalia, Afghanistan, and now Sudan, amongst others. The dedication and commitment and what generally adds up to a sense of duty marks each man and woman serving, whether they are directly involved in combat operations, risking their lives to save others, or supporting Canadians in numerous and different ways. The combination of their work, their diligence, and their professionalism has helped build a Canada that continues to be the envy of the world. A Canada where our vast rights are enshrined in our Constitution, where the rule of law and democratic governments are embedded in our very fabric, and a Canada where our standard of living is an inspiration to the rest of the world. Duty with honor describes how we, the present and the future generations of Canadians in uniform, will meet our responsibility to Canada and Canadians. We have been handed the torch to hold high by generations of Canadians who held it so high that they could rightly be described as giants. We stand on the shoulders of these giants, and they, along with all other Canadians, expect us to do our duty and to do it honorably. Thank you.
When men and women join the Canadian Forces and don the uniform, they enter a unique profession, the profession of arms. They will always remain citizens, but for as long as they serve in uniform, they will no longer be civilians, as they assume obligations and responsibilities no other Canadian citizen has. These Canadian men and women have accepted the special trust placed in them by their country and draw inspiration and courage from those who came before them, embracing the military's proud heritage, customs, and traditions. The military profession shares some similarities with civilian professions. Members develop a systematic and specialized body of expertise acquired through education, training, and experience. Like civilian professionals, military professionals perform their duties competently and objectively for the benefit of society. As within other acknowledged professions, the military is granted considerable authority to self-regulate by the government and society. However, military professionals serve only one client, the people of Canada. The profession of arms is uniquely distinguished by the concept of service before self. The lawful, ordered application of military force as directed by the Canadian government, and the acceptance that members are subject to being ordered into harm's way in conditions that could lead to the loss of their lives. This calls for the development of outstanding leaders throughout the profession who were able to dominate the battle space. Canadian military professionals perform a wide range of missions and tasks. While maintaining national sovereignty and continental security, the CF is also called upon to assist and protect Canadians in times of natural disaster and emergency. Internationally, the CF supports Canadian foreign policy objectives, such as protecting human rights and alleviating human suffering. Among the CF's particularly difficult and dangerous tasks is intervening in failed states, such as Afghanistan, to promote international stability.
We are empowered to use lethal force in the accomplishment of our mission. And sometimes that has to be done, which is of course why you need well-trained, well-equipped, well-led, disciplined, fit, and mentally and physically tough soldiers, sailors, and airmen to go overseas and do these types of operations. If you don't, the mission will fail. The results of the mission failing will be potentially horrendous for Canada, and as importantly, those whom we're charged to protect, the weak and the innocent, will lose their lives.
The profession of arms is more inclusive than many other professions, as it can only be practiced collectively. Officers and NCMs work shoulder to shoulder, sharing the same risks, burdens, and rewards. This relationship is one of the most sacred in the profession. Its very existence powerfully reflects a common professional identity and produces effective, strong leaders.
In 1992, in Sarajevo, our mission was to, first of all, defend the airport. And as a recce platoon, we had to patrol downtown. So I remember one day we had to send one detachment to Sniper Alley. Somebody was shooting at people. So 6-2 Alpha, which a section commander was Sergeant Mario Forêt. This guy took the lead and went there, and you should have seen him, a real fighter, coordinating some sort of a maneuver with his driver. Driver turned around with his EPCs, and he just started crawling, went to get the two ladies, but one lady was already dead, so he pulled just one. They got back in the vehicle, and he drove her to the hospital. He did it without even thinking of his life. He risked his life. So that's what a Canadian soldier is. He's ready to perform his task, you know, at a certain price. You don't think about your life when that happens. You go there, you perform your task, and then carry on with the other one.
The concept of the military profession is reflected in 4 attributes: responsibility, expertise, identity, and a set of fundamental values and beliefs that constitute the military ethos. This ethos is the spirit that binds the profession together. Military members' first and foremost responsibility is to the Canadian government and its citizens by defending the nation and her interests. Members also have an internal responsibility to maintain the profession at the highest standards of excellence and operational effectiveness. The complex environment of modern armed conflict demands expertise gained through continued military training and education. To successfully carry out integrated operations, ranging from armed conflict to peace support operations to humanitarian assistance. Professional military knowledge is organized around the general system of war and conflict framework, comprising tactics, operational art, and strategy. As guardians of the state, members of the military remain part of Canadian society, but at the same time possess a separate and distinct identity.
Shortly after the Gulf War broke out, and I was on board HMCS Provider back then. One of our duty was to escort one of our destroyers partly to her area of operation. So we had to remain very secretive about the mission itself. So it was difficult to keep some aspects of what I was doing to my family. So my family knew that I was in the military. They knew I was engaged in an international operation that was very important and sensitive and developing at that particular point in time. But they couldn't know exactly where I was going and when I was leaving, when I was coming back. That's when I realized that there was quite a bit more to being a member of the military than being a civilian and going to work 9 to 5.
The realities of combat and operations on land, at sea, and in the air mean there are necessary differences in the way military culture is expressed in each of these environments. These identities come together around a hierarchy of loyalties that operate in ascending order, from service in one's environment to the CF, and finally to the Government of Canada and the rule of law. The military ethos serves to shape and guide conduct and define responsibilities. This ethos ensures that force is always applied in accordance with sound professional judgment. Beliefs and expectations about military service demand that all in uniform accept the contract of unlimited liability, an honorable warrior spirit, and an understanding that officers and NCMs operate as a team who are both committed to personal and collective discipline are fundamental military beliefs. These beliefs are indispensable in sustaining members in environments of fear, fatigue, confusion, and danger. The military ethos also requires that the profession of arms remain strongly linked to Canadian society, as it incorporates fundamental Canadian values, such as the rule of law, democratic principles, and absolute subordination to civil authority. This is particularly evident when senior military staff consult with politicians and civilian officials during the development of national security policies, a core process of a civil-military relationship in a constitutional democracy. At the center of the military ethos are 4 core military values: duty, loyalty, integrity, and courage. A sense of duty drives everything military professionals do. Duty guides their toughest decisions. During the UN support mission in Rwanda, Canadian Hercules crews flew into Kigali Airport, frequently landing and taking off under mortar and small arms fire. Their sense of duty pushed them as they delivered desperately needed humanitarian aid to the Rwandans.
When the mission was ordered to be cut from 2,500 to 270 soldiers, General Dallaire basically wanted volunteers to stay on the ground. One evening he called me into his office and he told me that, because I had a wife who was pregnant at home, I had a 3-year-old child, I had a 1-year-old child, that if I wanted to, I could leave. And I told him absolutely not. As long as you're here, I will remain here. And I certainly felt that it was my duty, and I would have felt that I was deserting to have left him regardless of personal considerations. That's one of those few times, or one of those times in your career where you do have to put your family second to the mission. And in this case, it was a life or death situation for him, for the rest of my friends and comrades, for the people in Rwanda who were depending upon us. And that's one where I had to put personal considerations aside and put the mission first. And I've never regretted that decision, actually staying in Rwanda. It cost me a lot in physical health. It cost me a lot in psychological health. But at the end of the day, I think I have a sense of satisfaction that I did my job. And that's the ultimate reward for a soldier.
Military loyalty relates to duty, personal allegiance to Canada, commitment to the rule of law, and devotion to comrades. Loyalty supports members through tough times. During the Swissair rescue operation off the coast of Nova Scotia, sailors of all ranks insisted on performing their duty, despite opportunities for rest and relief. Their loyalty to comrades demanded that all share equally in the emotionally taxing task at hand. Military integrity requires members of Canada's profession of arms to exhibit steadfast commitment to moral principles and obligations. Each member must be accountable for their actions, regardless of physical difficulty, risk, success, or popularity. Each must demonstrate willpower, resolve, and the willingness to never quit. The Canadian military profession of arms places a great value on courage, both physical and moral. Courage is what the military requires and respects. Operating under the constraints of their UN mandate in the former Yugoslavia, Canadian military professionals faced aggressive resistance and virtually unspeakable horrors. Physical and moral courage sustained Canadian soldiers in the firefight in Croatia's Medak pocket as they secured the region to prevent further ethnic cleansing. In Afghanistan, a complex mix of combat and stability operations in pursuit of a viable democratic society calls for courage of the highest order on a daily basis. Professional service in today's Canadian forces can be summed up in three profound words: duty with honor. In answering the unspoken call to the profession of arms, members of the CF must live up to public expectations of consistent and exemplary behavior of the highest standard. They must conduct themselves in a manner that reflects the values and beliefs of their fellow Canadians. By embracing the military ethos, they meet these expectations while they strive for excellence within their specialized expertise and take on the complex challenges of the future. And their reward is honor.